No army marched into China to destroy its greatest empire. No king sat on a throne and declared war that ended it all. Instead, the most powerful civilization on earth collapsed slowly, silently, while believing it was still invincible. What if I told you that the weapon that shattered China's greatest empire was not a sword, not a cannon, but a trade deal, wrapped in profit, addiction, and betrayal? This is not just a story of opium. This is the story of pride, power, human weakness, and how an empire fell without realizing it was already dying. For centuries, China stood as the center of the world in its own eyes. Under the Qing Dynasty, the empire stretched vast and unchallenged, its cities rich with silk, tea, porcelain, and knowledge. The emperor ruled as the son of heaven, believed to be chosen by destiny itself. Farmers bowed to tradition, scholars bowed to wisdom, and soldiers bowed to order. China did not believe it needed the outside world. Foreign nations were seen as distant, inferior, and unnecessary. This belief, this deep-rooted confidence, would become its greatest weakness. Inside the Forbidden City, Emperor Daoguang sat surrounded by gold and silence. Reports arrived daily about crops, taxes, rituals, but one detail kept repeating in whispers: opium. At first, it seemed insignificant, a foreign drug used by a few. But slowly, the whispers grew louder. Sons of merchants sold family heirlooms for it. Soldiers smoked it in secret. Officials ignored laws for it. Entire neighborhoods fell into sleep and decay. The empire that once valued discipline was now quietly drowning in addiction. The British traders who arrived on China's shores did not come with hatred. They came with smiles, contracts, and ships filled with opium from India. Britain wanted Chinese tea and silk, but China wanted nothing from Britain. The solution was simple and cruel: sell opium, drain silver, create dependency. Every crate unloaded at Chinese ports was another crack in the empire's foundation. Silver flowed out, addiction flowed in, and still, many Chinese officials refused to believe that trade, not war, was destroying them. Then came Lin Zexu, a man of principle in a time of corruption. Appointed to stop the opium trade, he walked the streets himself, seeing hollow eyes and broken families. He wrote a letter to Queen Victoria, asking how a nation could call itself moral while poisoning another for profit. He seized and destroyed thousands of chests of opium, believing justice would protect China. But justice has no power when greed commands cannons. Britain did not see his act as law enforcement. It saw it as an insult. War arrived not as a warning, but as punishment. British ships, powered by modern technology, crushed China's outdated defenses. The empire that believed itself eternal discovered it was unprepared, divided, and technologically behind. Soldiers fought bravely, but courage cannot stop steel and strategy. The Opium War was not just a military defeat, it was a psychological collapse. China was forced to sign humiliating treaties, open ports, surrender land, and legalize the very poison destroying its people. By the end of the First War, the Qing Dynasty still stood, but it was no longer whole. The emperor still wore his crown, but authority leaked away like blood from an unseen wound. The people suffered, yet the worst was still to come. After the cannons fell silent, China did not find peace. It found humiliation. Foreign powers carved privileges from its body. Port by port, treaty by treaty, opium flooded deeper into society. Farmers abandoned fields, workers collapsed in factories, families sold daughters. The empire that once fed the world could no longer feed itself. Rebellions erupted, not against foreigners, but against the Qing rulers who seemed powerless to stop the suffering. One such rebellion was the Taiping Rebellion, led by a man who believed he was divinely chosen to cleanse China. It killed millions, more than any war before it. While China bled internally, foreign nations watched and waited, extracting more concessions. The Qing court tried reforms, but too late. Corruption had rotted the system. Fear replaced leadership. Tradition resisted change. The world had moved forward, and China had been trapped in its own past. Ordinary people carried the real cost. A father watching his son waste away from opium smoke. A mother begging soldiers for food. A scholar burning his books because knowledge no longer brought survival. These were not stories recorded in treaties, but they were the true history of the empire's fall. China was not destroyed in a single moment. It was exhausted, weakened, and betrayed over generations. By the early 20th century, the Qing dynasty collapsed entirely. The last emperor became a child on a throne with no power, ruling an empire that existed only in memory. What once stood as the world's greatest civilization fell into chaos, occupation, and revolution, all because it underestimated how destructive greed, addiction, and imbalance could be when mixed with global power. Yet this story is not only a tragedy, it is a warning and a lesson. Empires do not fall only from enemies outside. They fall when they ignore suffering inside, when profit matters more than people, when pride refuses to adapt. China would rise again in a different form, shaped by pain, memory, and resilience. The scars of the opium trade became a reminder etched into national identity. Never again. And that is why this story still matters today. Because the most dangerous threats are not always loud. Sometimes they arrive quietly, disguised as opportunity. Want to know how did I make this video? An Indian old man is talking English, far, far, far.